Hey guys, back again. So today we're going to talk about all the movies that I've been watching, I'd say the past couple weeks. Like I said, I just don't make much time to do these every day anymore because I've got a lot of different things in my life that I'm doing. But I still want to do reviews, of course. So let's get started. I'm going to talk about 9 or 10 movies that I've watched pretty recently. And then most of them are current releases plus a couple older releases of horror. And I think it's all horror this time. Yeah, I don't think. Well, I guess there's one that kind of isn't horror. But let's get started with the first one, which is Lisa Frankenstein, which was released in theaters maybe for a couple weeks, but I didn't get to see it in the theaters. Lisa Frankenstein stars Catherine Newton and Cole Sprouse, and Catherine Newton is in all the horror stuff right now. She's great. She was also in Abigail, which I will talk about later in this review or in this video. She's definitely becoming a great. I don't know if scream queen's the word, but I guess so. But she's great in all the horror stuff she's in. I really liked her in Freaky. Um, she's got a good personality and she's really funny, and she's just a good actress in these things. And I like seeing her in all these horror things. But Lisa Frankenstein is kind of like an '80s throwback, and I was not even born in the '80s, so I'm not saying that I know the accuracy of it, but it is an '80s throwback, and it is about a girl named Lisa who resurrects this guy who died. So it's her she's like Frankenstein, and they fall in love, and it is a kind of dark comedy directed by Zelda Williams, Robin Williams' daughter, which is really cool. And I think written by Diablo Cody, who did Jennifer's Body, which I thought was fun from what I remember whenever I saw that a long time ago. But this one's interesting because it's not a movie that I personally am gonna be that invested in. For me personally, I don't I like it okay, but it's not a movie that I don't have the same experience with what the main character is going through or who the main character is, and it's it's kind of like a dark love romantic dark comedy, and it's a PG-13 one where I feel like it didn't really need to be rated R, but that would have been kind of cool if it was rated R. Then it would have been, I don't know, maybe it could have had a couple moments that were really funny in the movie that happened, could have been more effective, if that makes sense. Um, but like I said, this movie is pretty endearing. Or like I'm saying now, I didn't say that before. It's pretty endearing of a movie. I thought that it was the characters were fun, they were interesting. I felt like as the movie went along, I got more interested and invested in them. Um, but it's just not. I'm not as much into the romantic movies, but I thought that this one did a fine job at being kind of, while being typical like dark comedy, like romantic dark comedy '80s throwback. I thought it was fun. I don't think it was super original, but I mean it was fun and it worked for me in some ways. I just don't. It's just not something that I experience the same way with. Like I feel like I'm not the target audience for it. Is what I'm trying to say. The words I'm trying to say. But I still thought it was good and it worked for the most part. Um, then the next movie we're going to talk about is Civil War, which is the newest A24 movie, and it is about these journalists that are trying to kill a president, and it is at a perfect time in the climate of the U.S. right now with how crazy politics go. And the thing I liked about this movie is they didn't really go there. They actually didn't really talk about the political side of it. It was just about these journalists trying to kill the president, but you don't really know what the deal was and how it came to be. You just know that everybody's gone batshit crazy, and that's all you need to know. And it's also directed by Alex Garland, who I really like. He directed Men. That was the last one he directed, and Men I liked a lot. He did Annihilation, and it was great as well, like really good. And Ex Machina, he does a great job with directing, and I really like his movies. This one is not the same as those. It is not really as much of a horror movie, even though it has moments of pure like suspense and terror. But it doesn't feel the same way as those other movies that I just mentioned. But I like that. I like the fact that Alex Garland, through all of these movies that I've seen him that he's done, he does a good job of making them making them really creepy and surreal at the same time. Like Ex Machina, I think, did a good job of being this robot gone wrong, but in a way where it felt fresh, and that character really was fleshed out. That robotic character that Alicia Vikander played, like that, I think is awesome. And stuff like Men, where like it's an allegory for like creepy men, and like there's just one man who's every character in the movie. That was cool and effective, and that movie had a what the fuck like ending you will never see coming, and you'd be like, what? I can't believe I just watched this movie. That's insane. And like Annihilation is a sci-fi movie that like totally felt different and unique and freaky to me, like creepy. There's some great scary moments in that movie, but Civil War is different too, in a way where it is really gritty, grounded. Like it is a gritty, grounded movie where these characters are just trying to survive, you know. They're not trying to survive to get to this president, and that's it. And I thought that was effective, and it worked. And I am glad that I saw this one. I'm glad it's not what I expected. I'm glad it wasn't just talking about politics completely. It was more on the journalism side, which I'm glad, because you get so much politics everywhere right now. It's just I don't need to hear any more of that. So I'm glad to see that in Civil War. Great job, Alex Garland. Then Abigail is the next one that I'm going to talk about. Radio Silence's next horror movie. Abigail is about a killer ballerina that's like a 10-year-old. She's a ballerina vampire, and this group of people go and they are trying to just steal this girl, but then they don't realize she's a vampire, and she starts killing them off. I'll say with this, that is a good premise. But if I didn't see the trailer, I might have liked this slightly more, because the trailer ruins the big twist of this, that the girl's a vampire. The movie starts out where you have no idea where this is going, and you have no idea that this little girl is going to be a vampire, and they do a really good job of that. And the marketing of this is kind of shameful to it. But how do you market this movie without saying that? Because you can't really market the first like 30 minutes of the movie without knowing that she's a vampire, because that's going to get butts in the seats. So it's kind of a shame that it has to go that route with the marketing. But I think Abigail was good, though. I thought it was really fun. I don't think I liked it as much as Ready or Not or the 2 Scream movies that they did. I think it's probably my least favorite out of the 4, but I thought that this was still good. I thought that this was still funny and effective. And the gore was great. I thought that this was really hilarious. It's got a great cast in it. Melissa Barrera, Dan Stevens, Giancarlo Esposito. You've got the dude from Euphoria who passed away. Is it Chance McCloud? I've been watching Euphoria recently too, so that's how I remember the character, because I remember he's in that as well. And Catherine Newton, like I said, speaking of her again. This is a really stacked cast, and I like that Radio Silence has done that with their other movies too, where you really get a good rounded cast of people. But I'd say out of all of their movies, this is the one where until the carnage started, I was not as invested. And it's weird, because I was super invested with Scream 5 and Scream 6 with those characters, and I thought that they were interesting. And in this one, all the actors are good, but there's not a time where I was really genuinely caring as much for them. But they're kind of made that way. These characters are people who are trying to steal somebody. They're not trying to be nice people. They're not trying to have much of a depth to them. So I guess I probably should just see this movie again. Like whenever it comes out on 4K or streaming, I'll watch it again. But I felt like the first half was weaker than the second half. And that's weird to say, because I really like all their other movies that they've done. So it's odd. But like I said, maybe I'll just watch it again and like it more. But I still thought it was really solid and really fun. Like I said, it's really great when it gets to the carnage. Really fun. So Abigail, and then let's talk about Late Night with the Devil, which was released on Shudder. I was going to see it in the theater, but it didn't come to my theater. So I had to wait until maybe a month later until it came out on Shudder. Late Night with the Devil stars David Masmalchian, and he is a Saturday night Saturday night host. They said like Johnny Carson. They even mentioned that name in the actual movie, but it's in the 70s, and he gets these weird people on the show, and it starts to become really dangerous and really scary. And there becomes stuff like exorcisms and crazy ass stuff where like it just builds really well. I really liked Late Night with the Devil. I thought that it did a really good job of establishing the creepiness factor of this. Like I really liked this one a lot. Um, the freaky moments in it are really freaky and effective, and the movie really times itself very well with establishing these scares. And I thought that was awesome. I don't know who directed this one, but I really liked it. I really don't want to say much about it because I want people to see this one, because I want people to know like how creepy it is and how fun it is. It's just a really fun roller coaster. Like it builds very well and effective to the end of the movie. Really like Late Night to the Devil. Then this is a movie I'm going to talk about that is not a new movie. It's called Rotten Tail, and I watched this because of The Last Drive-In with Joe Bob Briggs. That was one of their episodes this month, as well as The Toxic Avenger, which I've seen before, and I think I've talked about before on here. But anyway, Rotten Tail is about a guy who becomes a rabbit, and he starts killing off people. So it's a Easter horror kind of movie, and I thought that this was really fun. I thought that the main character, the dorky, geeky main character, did a really good job of being intimidating at the end. And I guess that's why they made this a double feature on that show, Last Drive-In with Toxic Avenger, because it's like a dorky, geeky guy who becomes a creature, a different creature as the movie goes along. So I really like that. I thought that it really was the gore was really good in it as well. But really, that's all I could say. It's a pretty basic movie, but I thought that it was entertaining. There's not really anything standing out that I remember because I watched it like a week ago. But Rotten Tail was solid. I liked Rotten Tail. And then let's talk about another movie I watched that I never saw before called Shriek, If You Know What I Did Last Friday the 13th. Now, I don't think I saw this on streaming, but I found this at a pawn shop on DVD for like 50 cents. I'm like, I'm going to, of course, buy this and watch this. Shriek, If I Know What You Did Last Friday the 13th is a long title. It is a movie that was released right whenever Scary Movie was released, so it was in the spoof. It was another spoof, just like Scary Movie. And I'll give this movie credit. It does not feel like Scream. I mean, it does not feel like Scary Movie. It copies stuff like Scream, but the movie doesn't feel like it goes the same way as Scary Movie does. Which is a shame, because Scary Movie is way better than this one. I really didn't like this one that much. Shriek, If You Know What I Did Last Friday the 13th. God, that's a long title. I did not really think this one was that funny. I thought that this one really was bland, to be honest. I could see why there was never a sequel to this one, and why there were sequels to Scary Movie, because this one was the bad one out of the two. Like, Scary Movie, the first one, I love. It's hilarious and so fun. As is most of the Scary Movies, besides the fifth one. I don't like that one, but I like the first four. Those movies are awesome. This one is similar to Scary Movie in which it's a spoof. It just references horror stuff, but it doesn't do it as smartly as Scary Movie did. It's just not very interesting. It's like, oh, they're walking around in the hallway at school, and then, oh, there's Chucky, and it's just a little kid with red hair, and he just says, "Want to play?" And it's not that funny, like that kind of stuff. Or they've got a lot of characters that are dumb named, like Scary Movie, but like they're not as funny. Like Scary Movie just did a better job at that as well. What I'm saying is Scary Movie's a better movie than Shriek, If You Know What I Did Last Friday the 13th. This one is really forgettable, and I am kind of ashamed of that. I wish that I liked it more, but man, no, it was not really for me, personally. Speaking of movies that aren't for me, I also watched a movie called Saturn III, which is a space movie where this guy and woman are up in space, and there's this robotic creature this robotic thing that like is trying to kill them. And I'm being very vague, isn't the word. I'm being very forgetful on this movie because this movie was so forgettable. I watched this movie like a month ago, and I remember nothing about Saturn III. I just want to say I watched it. So you guys know I watched Saturn III. The only reason I watched it is because Scream Factory had a release for it. I got it dirt cheap on a sale. But I honestly am forgetting everything about it. I remember there was a robot that was putting them in danger. It was very similar to like 2001: A Space Odyssey, but bad, if that makes sense. Like, it just wasn't very good. Um, I'm really straining to find anything that I remember about Saturn 3. I don't remember anything about it. So let's talk about the next movie. Um, the next movie is. Let me get a drink of water real quick. I've been talking for a while. I also did a room tour before this. Um, the next movie that I'm going to talk about is I Know Who Killed Me, which is a Lindsay Lohan horror thriller movie from 2007. This one was awful. This one was genuinely bad. I did not like this one at all. At all. It was not entertaining at all either. Because I can like a movie and rate a movie pretty high if it's entertainingly bad or just goofy or out balls to the wall crazy. But this movie was so bland and uninteresting. So it's about a teenager who is in high school, and then she gets taken by a killer, and he cuts off her body parts, like her arms and her legs. Lindsay Lohan's character. And then Lindsay Lohan, whenever she's in the hospital with her parents like, "Are you okay, whatever your name is?" And she's like, "No, my name is another name." And she says the name of this character who's a stripper. And apparently she might be living a double life, and she's like a stripper, but she's also like a high school student. Which is really weird. And she might have a twin sister. Oh, surprise. And it's just a movie that, while watching it, it has no coherence. Like, it is just straight up just weird and uninteresting. Like, it has nothing creative about it at all, and it's just utterly bland. And I feel bad for Lindsay Lohan being in this movie, because I like her as an actress in some stuff, but man, this just did not do her any favors. This movie was just butchered by just being a weird movie that didn't really have much coherence or make much sense to me. I felt like it didn't really work at all. I Know Who Killed Me, and the ending is so fucking dumb. Like, it is stupid. Like, I can't even explain it. Like, you gotta, like, I would honestly say to watch it, but I still don't think people should. But I mean, I also think there's movies I like that people said don't watch. So if you want to watch this, watch it. But just for how dumb the movie is, it's just not very entertaining to me at all. It's not interesting. Yeah, but I'm glad I watched that, because I've wanted to watch this for years. I Know Who Killed Me. I've always wanted to watch this one. And then I watched Tarot, which is a new movie in the theater, which is another one of those PG-13 horror movies that, unfortunately, just is not creative at all. This is very, very conveyor belt horror movie. It is about a group of kids who find tarot cards, and then they use them, and then the different arcanas of the tarot cards start killing them off. So the only thing that kept my interest in this is that I'm playing the video game Persona 3, and the Persona games are Japanese RPGs, and they use tarot cards in those games. I want to explain this pretty quickly, because I know it's not as interesting as the horror stuff, but like, Persona 3 is a game like you use those, and those are used to upgrade your friendships and to fight monsters with those arcanas, personas, those tarot cards. So I knew all the names of the tarot cards, and I was interested in that throughout this movie, Tarot, but this movie was just pretty bland. I honestly would say, though, despite not being creative at all, I did like the designs of all the monsters from the tarot cards. Like, when you see them in full form, like the devil, or like the jester, like, or the hierophant, like, these are all, or the hermit, like, these are all names of these tarot cards, and they've all got cool designs. And I honestly say, on the design part of this, I thought that was cool, even though the movie just fell completely bland. But that doesn't mean I didn't hate it. I honestly thought this movie was perfectly serviceable despite being very generic. I actually liked this one. Like, I didn't have a miserable time watching this. Like, I was interested in the characters, even though they were bland and generic. I thought it was entertaining. So I liked Tarot. I thought it was fun. I'm not saying it's a good movie or a great movie, but man, I had an entertaining time. I thought it was really not bad at all. while it's being generic, I still thought it could be fun. And I'm like that with some other movies where it's like, oh, this movie's generic, but I can still like it, you know? Like a lot of people like have that impression that if a movie's rated bad or if it's got cliches or if it's generic, you can't like it. And I think that there has to be a balance. And I felt like this did an okay balance for me where I was still invested, even though I knew where it was going. I knew how boring, or I knew how generic it was. Um, so I thought that was cool. And then let's talk about another horror movie that I watched called Why Did the Eye, which I bought the Scream Factory Blu-ray of on a sale. Why Did the Eye is from 1987, and I forgot what the main guy is, but the main girl is Kathy Moriarty, who I really like. I think she's a great actress. This is about a killer who is killing off rich women, and the Kathy Moriarty's character, her husband, is a prime suspect, and we don't know if he's the killer or not. And as the movie goes along, more secrets unfold. And this movie I thought was really good. Wide of the Eye. It's a cool name. This movie had a lot of Giallo influence. It has a lot of eye references, like Giallos do. It's got a lot of different filming techniques where it's like film grain in some scenes, and it's like straight, like looks like this right now, and then it's like film like a Giallo. And I like the fact that this movie experimented with that. This movie is not a horror movie like I expected. I kind of expected this to be more of a straightforward like slasher movie, and it has a couple of scenes of that, but it's not that much of a movie. It's way more character driven, which I actually really appreciated and enjoyed. And I really liked the performances of the main guy and Kathy Moriarty. I thought they were awesome. This one I'd probably watch again because honestly, it's one of those movies that by the end, I was genuinely like, man, this opened up to a way where I want to see it again and see where it evolved from, because what it started from was okay, but then as it went along, it got really great. And I'm like, did I miss some stuff at the beginning that I'm like, watching it a second time might benefit to me? But I don't know. I will want to see this one again. I'm glad I got the Scream Factory Blu-ray because I could watch it again for Why Did the Eye. Definitely recommend that one if you've never heard of that one. I think this one is pretty cool. Then let's talk about a movie I just watched called The Iron Claw. Which is an A24 movie starring Zac Efron and Jeremy Allen White, who's from The Bear. Bear is one of my favorite shows right now. New season coming out this month, in the next month, I think. I'm excited. But The Bear is about these brothers who are wrestlers, and their dad is pushing them to be wrestling champions. And this movie, I'm not going to really explain more of it. It's based on a real life story about the actual wrestlers, the Von Erich family, which I know nothing about. I've got a friend who loves wrestling, so he didn't spoil the movie, but he kind of told me that this is who these people are. And they also fight Ric Flair in it, which is a name that I knew, and I'm not even a big wrestling fan at all, but I knew who Ric Flair was, so it's funny to hear that. That it is based on a real life story, and I think that this movie, while being slightly too long for me because I'm not really into the subject matter for this is still a really good movie, The Iron Claw. I'd say this is my favorite Zac Efron performance. Zac Efron looks like a Neanderthal barbarian in this. Like, he's ripped to the point where he looks like he's like He-Man, which is hilarious. But I'm not saying that as a disservice to his performance. It's not. He is great in this movie, as well as all the performances. But he in particular, like, surprised me in how good he was. And I know he's already a good actor. He's been in good stuff, but it just really threw me off guard. I really liked Zac Efron in this. He was awesome. I thought all of the brothers, too, were great. If this is how the real life story goes, then it is kind of a sad story of these people that are just struggling to get their dad's affection while trying to become better than what they are in terms of wrestling. And it goes tragic very quick. And I really thought that was good. Even though, like I said, it was a little too long for me because I'm not as interested in the subject matter. But despite that, I'm still going to see it. It's an A24 movie. I'm going to, of course, watch it. But despite not knowing much of the subject matter, I like this one a lot. Really good. Really good movie. And then let's talk about the last thing that I'm going to talk about today, which is a show. So it's Chucky Season 3, Part 2. So Chucky Season 3 came out last year. The writer's strike happened. They did 4 episodes last year. Then they did the last four this last month or two. So Chucky is in the lighthouse. And I'm trying to not spoil this completely, because I didn't do like episode by episode reviews like I did for the first 4 episodes this season. So I'm just going to kind of talk about vaguely how I felt about this. I thought that this show, part 2 of this season, was pretty good up until the end. And I thought the end kind of like, not bad is not the word I'm going to say, because I think it's still good. But I think that Chucky, like, it's great that Don Mancini always does a great job of always establishing each movie of Chucky, each season of Chucky, as something different, and I really appreciate that. And to keep the franchise's continuity from 1988 till now, when you've got franchises like Halloween, which have been 4 different timelines, or the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, where every movie is in its own continuity, like, that is really just awesome that he still keeps the continuity for these films. I love that. But I felt like the ending of this kind of fell slightly flat, and it's mostly because it's a cliffhanger. But it's really weird. Like, I'm not gonna fully go into detail, but it's John Waters back again, because he was killed in Seed of Chucky, of course. It's cool to see him back. He's another character, and they've been doing this in the Chucky show, where like Devon Sawa has been like 3 different characters, which is awesome as well. But anyways, whenever it gets to the ending with John Waters, it kind of falls a little flat for me. Not because of the actor, but just because it felt, while it felt unique, it kind of ended in a way where I was like, oh, okay, I guess I gotta wait. Like, I'm not very as invested in anymore. And I thought the stuff with the White House and with Chucky there was great, but then the last episode really took a 360 to where they were going. And I wonder if that's because it was rushed, because like I said, there was a writer's strike. So I might be on the money, might be not. Despite that, I didn't dislike the last episode. I thought it was still good, but I just didn't think it was great. I thought that it felt like it was slightly rushed, and I felt less interested where they went. Because, like I said, with the second season, where it was at the Catholic school, it stayed in the Catholic school till the end. And in the first season, it stayed consistent with where it was. But in this one, it was from the White House to this new thing that felt pretty rushed and was out of the ordinary, different. And that's saying something for the Chucky show, being different. But, but I really liked a lot of things about it. I liked the fact that this is not really a spoiler. You see multiple Chuckies, different kind of Charles C. Ray. Awesome. They use a dreamlike scenario in this, where it's really cool that you could establish using the Chucky continuity, but using it in a dreamlike state. And I'm being kind of vague because it's not really dreamlike, but I don't want to say what it is because I don't want to spoil what happens with these characters and where they go. But I thought that it did a really cool job of establishing the fact that you could see all of these past things with Chucky, and I really enjoyed that. But like I said, Chucky Season 3, despite the last episode not being as exciting as I wanted it to be, it ended on a cliffhanger. I still liked it. I'm gonna, of course, watch the next season if they have one, but I still liked it regardless of little qualms with it. Like I said, I still love Chucky as a franchise. Obviously, look, I've got all 3 of them back there. So yeah, I thought it was fun despite a couple of qualms with Chucky Season 3, the end of Season 3. And I hear they're making a movie, apparently, another movie. I hear that they're in the talks for doing another movie. So that would be cool. Always love more Chucky stuff. Even if I didn't love the last episode, I still appreciate how different it was and how unique it was. Because, like I said, Don Mancini does an excellent job at making this franchise stay fresh and stay relevant, because it's not like the continuity is getting erased. They've got to keep evolving, and I think that it works very, very well. So yeah, still a really fun time with Chucky. But that is all the stuff that I wanted to talk about. Yeah, I've got more that I'm watching. I, of course, watch something almost every day, so I'll probably do another review in the next couple weeks. But that is it for now, and I'll thank you guys if you stayed this long listening to me, and I'll talk to you later. Have a good one.